Cool. Let's dive into it. Are you good to go, Jonathan?
Good to go.
Awesome. Welcome, Olivia from London. Awesome. So big welcome to everyone joining us today. Thanks for kind of bearing with us there. We were waiting for the room to fill up, but excited for today's session, which is 5 steps to providing email support in Zendesk, which is step 4 of our series, building the whole customer experience. So excited for today's session. We've got a lot of content to go through. We've got some live demos as well. Here's a quick look at the agenda. We'll just go over some brief intros in a minute as to who we are. We'll share what you'll be learning today, the discussion, and also some live demos, as I just mentioned, and then we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. We do like these sessions to be interactive, so if you have questions as you go, feel free to post those in the chat. We've got a Zendesk team here behind the scenes who will be facilitating the chat. If you feel comfortable at the end coming on and asking live, you're more than welcome to do so. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you today as to kind of your experience, some of the opportunities and challenges that you see, and just any other questions in general. So with that, we'll just move on to some quick introductions as to who we are. So again, Paddy, I'm one of the customer success managers here at Zendesk. Been on the scale team here for about 3 years now, so I have a larger portfolio of customers, work with customers from all different shapes and sizes, from SMB all the way through to kind of the bigger enterprises. And really love what I do. Have different discussions every day around different opportunities and challenges, and really excited and fortunate to be able to present these sessions here to you today. So that's enough for me. I'll kick it over to my co-host Jonathan for a quick introduction from his side.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Jonathan. I'm a solutions consultant here at Zendesk. We're a special team that aligns with customers that need a dedicated consultant. Sort of like a pseudo admin that can help them stand up their Zendesk instance or enhance it, provide best practices and insights on new features that are coming down the line in our roadmap. I've been at Zendesk for almost 4 years now, but prior to that, I've worked within Zendesk at various other companies. So I also bring that firsthand boots on the ground experience as an agent, and now behind the scenes at Zendesk, sort of like an admin and a product expert. I kind of bring all those insights together for you here. So thanks for everyone for joining. So we'll go on to the next slide here.
Awesome. So just to cover what we'll learn today, in this session, we will cover the steps and best practices around how to build out, the agent experience on your side of the Zendesk instance. And then after this, we'll focus on kind of the customer experience to ensure you're fostering stronger connections and, building satisfaction throughout. When both of these have been built, our focus will finally, be around how to go live and ensure your reporting is tightened up, ultimately leading to positive customer experiences across the board. So let's kick things off with a look at building the customer experience around email support. Despite all the advancements in technology and the heavy focus around AI, email still remains an extremely important channel for customer support today. Email remains a vital customer support channel because of its convenience, its cost effectiveness and ability to provide a written record of interactions. It allows customers to express their concerns clearly and concisely, and can offer up detailed step-by-step solutions, fostering a more thorough and satisfying customer experience throughout. In the session today, we'll explore how to effectively provide email support by focusing on the 3 essential components. Number 1, which is setting up your support email address. Number 2, configuring the email notifications. And then finally, customizing those email templates. So during our demos today, we'll be using a mock company called Coffee & Co. Coffee & Co. is a leading supplier of premium coffee beans, and it is committed to delivering exceptional coffee experiences to its clients. As the company expands, it seeks to streamline customer support by implementing Zendesk support workflows. The initiative aims to enhance communication, accelerate response times, and manage inquiries more efficiently. The ultimate goal is to provide outstanding support that reflects the quality of their products, thereby strengthening relationships with their partners and increasing customer satisfaction. So let's dive into the first topic today, which is all around understanding your default email setup. So before we dive into the weeds, it's important to understand the default settings that are in Zendesk, as it may differ from other pieces of software that you've used previously. The default email in Zendesk helps streamline customer support by enabling businesses to manage incoming emails effectively. When you set up your actual Zendesk account, a default support email address is created, which serves as a primary channel for customers to submit their inquiries and requests. So you see the support at yoursubdomain.zendesk.com, and this is a portion of the address that is your Zendesk subdomain. This essentially is the email address that can be customized to reflect your brand, ensuring that those communications are consistent and professional throughout. So if you're looking at the right-hand side of the screen here, it shows a good example of this process. A customer sends an email to your default address saying, hi, I need your help. And immediately from that, a ticket will be created. And then the customer receives a automated notification from the same address saying that the ticket has been received and the ticket is being worked on in Zendesk. The default email address experience contains the following. So the email address, which is kind of the users and support request to respond to, which again creates a ticket, and you can also provide additional information from the email addresses for submitting tickets, and then forwarded emails from external email addresses to Zendesk, and then the email notification triggers, which are automatically receive notifications about requests, and then therefore they're managed from the triggers. And then we also have kind of the email templates here, which are a single template, which determines the appearance of the email notification. And again, you can go in and customize this with your own branding to make it stand out to your own customer experience. So looking at why the default email setup in Zendesk is useful. Overall, the default email setup improves efficiency, enhances that customer experience, and supports effective communication throughout. With the default email address in Zendesk, you can, number one, streamline ticket management. With this, the default email setup in Zendesk automatically converts those incoming emails into support tickets for easy tracking and management throughout. You can improve the customer experiences. Outgoing email notifications triggered by customer actions like ticket creation or status updates, really help keep those customers informed about their requests. And again, this helps foster engagement and overall trust in the support process. And then again, we just touched on it, the consistency in branding. The email templates can be customized to reflect your brand. We hear a lot from customers about this. They want their kind of own stamp on the process, and it can certainly be done with some of the email templates that are in there to again reinforce that brand identity. So let's dig into our second topic today, which is actually the email addresses themselves. So you might be asking, what email addresses can I share with my customers? You can provide your users with email addresses for submitting tickets, and these addresses are known as support addresses. Support addresses can be, either variations of your Zendesk email address or an external email address. So the Zendesk support address, as mentioned in the previous slide, this is a default address created when you actually set up your Zendesk account. And then you can add additional support addresses as needed, right? We typically see this if, an instance has, different brands, you can set up, multiple email addresses, with that. Again, with external email support addresses, you can also, link these to, your Zendesk account by bringing those outside in. And those emails that are sent to external email addresses can be, directed, back into Zendesk. In turn, Zendesk can, send email replies to your customers via your external email address. And later on, we'll actually walk you through that process in terms of, forwarding those emails and how to actually do that inside your instance. So we have a couple of best practices around this. I won't kind of read all of them here, but a couple of them, are on the screen. Number one, set up multiple email addresses to address different customer needs or, departments effectively. Again, like we said, if potentially you have different brands in Zendesk, different product lines, right? That is potentially when you might want to, bring in a different email address. Use descriptive email addresses that clearly indicate their purpose, right? We don't want to see, crossovers with support. Sometimes we need the segregation in that, so just making sure it's clear and concise. And then, limit the number of support email addresses to avoid confusion, right? We typically see this when working with a wide range of customers, right? Sometimes it's just too many email addresses and customers are confused of where to send their inquiry to, making sure, again, you have specific email addresses for specific purposes within Zendesk. So why is it important to use a dedicated email address? Now we've gone over the email addresses, the makeup of them in Zendesk and what they actually look like. Let's hold for a second on why it's important to use these. Number one, again, reflecting back to this, it improves the customer experiences. By using those dedicated support addresses, customers again know where to send those support requests to. Secondly, it allows you on the kind of admin side of the house to, categorize and, route those tickets to specific email addresses or specific agents, right, who might be able to deal with that inquiry. And then finally, you're able to kind of customize workflows, right? You might have a number of different teams within inside Zendesk. When those specific requests come through, you can, tailor specific workflows so those tickets are routed to the appropriate agents and appropriate groups, so you can get back to your customers in a timely manner and an organized manner. So with that now, we're actually going to show you how we do this, and I'm actually going to hand over to Jonathan for this.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Patty. So yeah, now let's get into the fun stuff. So those that are here live, if you want to follow along, if you're logged into your instance or your sandbox instance, for those watching on the recording later on, if you want to follow along as well, this will be a live demo of how we can add another support email address to your instance. So I'm switching over to our demo instance for Coffee & Co. And I'm going to navigate to the admin center. And within the admin center, I'm going to navigate down to the channels drop down here. And I'm going to go under the talk and email subcategory and into email. And those of you already familiar, but just in case you aren't, you can also just do a quick search for email on the search bar to get into the specific setting once you're familiar with working your way around the admin center. So we can see here in this demo instance, we've got a few support email addresses. And as Patty mentioned, when you first create your Zendesk instance, you get a default support at your instance name.zendesk.com, and you could add additional support addresses as you need. So you could have different brands that control routing to different agents, a tier 1, tier 2 support, etc. So let's go ahead and create a new Zendesk address via this add address dropdown in the right section. And we're going to have this defaulted to the at subdomain name that you have. So right now it's at zencoffeeandco.zendesk.com. And let's create one under VIP, let's say. So we're going to hit create now. Now it's confirming that this email address has been added to your channel and can now receive tickets. So we're going to head and hit finish. And we could see the new support address that's been added here. And it could be used with a bunch of different features, like I mentioned. We can route tickets to particular groups using business rules. That way we can ensure that VIP tickets are routed to specialized users if you provide this email address on your website to a select group or a set of VIP customers that you want utilizing, and maybe get more specialized support for more advanced agents. So let's move on to the email notification portion. So the email address that we just created for VIP at Zen Coffee & Co., we still need to do something with that. You can definitely have folks start sending emails to it, but we want to make sure that the business rules, your triggers, your automations are set up ahead of time to make sure that those tickets are routing as you see fit. So triggers and automations determine how and when email notifications are sent. they play an important role in managing both incoming and outgoing notifications. So essential for effective communication with your customers. So the triggers define the actions when a ticket is created or updated. So in my previous example, if someone sends an email to VIP at Zen Coffee & Co., do this action, route to a group, raise the priority from normal to high, and then you have your automations that take action based on time intervals. So that could be if a ticket comes into VIP at Zen Coffee & Co., and maybe it hasn't been assigned in over 2 hours, then take this specific action. Send a notification to a manager or email the group to let them know, hey, this ticket hasn't been handled or hasn't been assigned. So the default incoming email notifications seen only by your support staff include a new support request from a customer was received. So someone sending in a new email request. An agent group was assigned to a new ticket. So a ticket being assigned to a group, everyone in that group gets an email notification. A specific agent was assigned to a new ticket. So an agent assigns themselves a ticket or someone assigns them a ticket, then that agent, specific agent gets a notification that they have a new ticket assignment. And these are the default notifications that are enabled. We can definitely tweak those as you see fit, disable them, enable them, but make sure that your communications are going out as you see fit. And some of the default outgoing email notifications that are seen by your customers include an automated notification letting them know that their email has been received and a ticket has been created. The agent has added a public comment or a reply to the customer so that they can see it in their email inbox. And the agent has set the ticket status to solve. So when the ticket is finally solved by the agent after a bunch of back and forth, then the end user or the customer is notified that the ticket has been solved. So it's important to familiarize yourself with the default notifications to understand their purpose and improve their effectiveness. Try to keep your triggers simplified to prevent overwhelming your customers and agents. You can imagine having too many notifications going to your agents will just become white noise in their inbox. Similar to the end users, if you're sending a notification for every single event in the ticket, it might overwhelm them, might lose the effectiveness of your support. Pay attention to customer feedback on email notifications to make sure that you're improving the content and timing. I would also say pay attention to your agent feedback as well. As someone who was an agent in the past, I can vouch and say too many notifications might be, something that gets in the way of effectively handling a support ticket. Too little, then people don't know what they're actually doing. So it's important to get feedback from both the agents and your customers. So why are email notifications important? So number one, we automate the communication. You don't have to have an agent actually type out a reply letting the customer know that the email has been received. The trigger automatically sends an email notification based on specific events. You improve your response time. So by notifying the support staff of new tickets or updates instantly, triggers help improve response times and efficiency in handling your customers' inquiries. And lastly, enhancing customer engagement. The outgoing notifications keep customers informed about the request, building trust and engagement in the support process. So let's talk about how do I disable notifications for all new requests. So we're going to head over to another demo. Let's start over here. So if we're logged in, we're going to go back to the admin center. We're going to go under objects and rules. And we're going to go under business rules and triggers. So in here, we've got two categories. We're going to open up the notification category. And we're going to go down to notify all agents of a receive request. So this default trigger, as we've kind of been hinting at, maybe be doing too much right now. So every single ticket in this condition that's created will send a notification to all agents, essentially, that are not restricted by private groups or other restrictions that we can talk about later on, and letting them know that this ticket has been created by the user, it's been received, and it's unassigned. So that's blasting this email notification out to all the agents. You can create different versions of this, so we can add different conditions that say, for example, if the ticket is created and it's received at the new support address that we just created previously at VIP, then take another action. Instead of notifying all agents, maybe you want to notify a group. Maybe we want to just have it update the priority. So we don't have to have the default automations take over. You can go ahead and customize this as you see fit, or we can go ahead and say, you know what, I don't need this. This is too much email spamming. I'm going to go ahead and deactivate this. So the agents are no longer going to be able to get this initial notification. Or if you've created a new one, then you have that one take over. This one becomes deactivated. And we can filter down. Right now, we're filtering by all active triggers. We can use the filter to then filter by inactive triggers that we've deactivated if we want to go back to them in the future. Let's go back to the presentation. All right, so let's talk about customer satisfaction. So we refer to it as a CSAT. It encourages your customers to provide feedback about their support experience by rating their solved tickets. It's designed to maximize the response rate by being quick and simple while also gathering essential data. The CSAT survey for Zendesk support can be sent in two ways: your email channel or your messaging channel if you're using it. Today, we'll talk about the end user experience for email CSAT. So you can customize a CSAT in the following ways. You can tailor the CSAT questions to your specific needs. You can select a rating scale from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, or 1 to 5 ranges. You can edit the label text for each rating, and you can set the rating type as numerical. What's your satisfaction, 1 through 5? Emojis, smiling emojis, great service. Really mad emoji, really bad service, or any custom text that you choose. And you can show follow-up questions for users that submit negative ratings, which we'll go into in the next couple of slides. All right, so let's do another live demo. How can I send CSAT surveys via email? So let's go ahead and switch over back to our demo instance. I'm going to go back to the admin center. I'm going to go to objects and rules, business rules, under customer satisfaction. We're going to first go into the edit survey section here. And here we can see the default survey is set to how will you rate the support you received. Right now, it's on a scale of 1 to 5. So we see the number scale here at the bottom, 5 being very satisfied, 1 being very unsatisfied. And you can go ahead and toggle the different label options here. We can switch this down to different scale if you think 5 is too much, or keep it simple. Are you satisfied or unsatisfied? And then if we tweak this back to 5, we can see the scale setup. So right now it's 1 through 5. Like I mentioned earlier, we can use some cool emojis here as the scale option that's visible to the end users, or any custom text that you'd want in here. And then towards the bottom, we have a few more options. We can create a follow-up question if the end user selects a negative rating. So in our 1 to 5 scale example, if they pick, let's switch this back to numerical, if they pick anything below 4, so 3 through 1, that's considered negative. If they select any of those options, then they get a follow-up question to ask what actually happened, and you can customize these drop-down options as well. You can alter the headline alter the drop-down options, delete them, make them more simplified. Or if you don't want to use the option at all, we can go ahead and delete it. And there's one more option here at the bottom for an open-ended question. So this will be visible for users once they select the scale. They'll have the option to just share your thoughts on the support you received from Coffee and Co. We can go ahead and hit save here to save any changes that you've made. So as mentioned before, the messaging channel has a different satisfaction survey that is different from the email channel. For this example, we're just going to focus on the email survey. So we're going to go ahead and navigate to the bottom here. So we've got the email channel, messaging channel. We're going to go ahead and activate the email channel automation. It's going to activate this rule, which we'll go into in a second. We see that it's now active. And we can go ahead and click deactivate if we don't want to use it. But let's go ahead and view this rule. So in this default state, we see a couple of conditions here. So now that this is active, what we're saying is that if the ticket is less than closed, if the status has been solved for at least 24 hours, and the satisfaction survey has been unoffered, and there are public comments on the tickets. If your workflows necessitate your agents creating tickets for the end users and maybe adding an internal note saying you must follow up with the customer, you probably don't want a CSAT going out because you might decide you don't need that ticket or solve that out before reaching out to the end user. So in this case, the automation here by default is setting it by public comments. And at the bottom here, we're saying if it meets all these conditions at the top, so ticket has been solved, it's been at least 24 hours, they haven't been sent a CSAT, it's got public comments, then take these actions. So it's going to email the requester, which is your customer. And it's going to add a title here with these placeholders, share your feedback with us. And then we've got an email body that's put together with some placeholders that are pulling in the customer's name, asking them for them to rate the ticket, and then rate it on the scale that we've just created previously. By adding these conditions, we're ensuring that the customers are getting the CSAT when the ticket is solved. And then also, we can add a condition under the meet any here at the bottom. We can add an additional condition as well. For ticket tags, this is optional and contains none of the following. And let's just type in no CSAT. So in this optional condition here, what we're saying is that if a ticket contains this no underscore CSAT, then don't send a CSAT. So you've got customer satisfaction surveys being sent for everything else. You might have a particular ticket or a case where you say, we don't want the CSAT going to this specific customer. Let's just add a tag in the ticket so that this automation bypasses and it doesn't get a CSAT sent to the specific end user. We can go ahead and hit submit here if we make those changes. Let's go back to the slides here. All right. So what is the bump solve workflow? This is another automation that Zendesk uses to manage ticket follow-ups effectively. So this workflow can be customized to fit specific needs by adjusting time intervals using the automations or business days instead of calendar days, allowing for the flexibility to manage your interactions with end users. So the setup involves 3 steps: a bump, which is a first notification. So after 4 calendar days, the system automatically sends a notification to the ticket requester, reminding them of a pending ticket. So you might imagine having a workflow that you're waiting for a response from the end user, and maybe you don't want to keep following up as an agent to ask them, hey, did you get this email? Do you need anything else? Did this solve your issue, etc.? We can implement a first bump that says if the ticket is placed in pending status, after 4 calendar days, have the system send a notification automatically that says, hey, we haven't received a response from you. If we don't hear a response, then these actions will be taken. So this takes us into the second notification for a bump. So if there's still no response after an additional 2 days for a total of 6 days, a second notification is sent to the requester, prompting them again for a response. So again, it's, hey, we haven't heard from you again. If you don't take any action, these are the things that are going to happen. And that goes into the solve last step for resolution. So if there's no reply after 7 calendar days, an email notification is sent to the ticket requester and the ticket status is changed to solve. So you could imagine we're bumping them once. Hey, we haven't heard from you. Bumping them twice. Haven't heard from you again. If you don't respond, this ticket might solve. And the final notification at 7 days saying, hey, we tried reaching out to you. If you have any follow-ups, please let us know. But this ticket is now solved. All right, another live demo. How can I set up email notifications for pending tickets? So let's go back to our admin center. And I know that I keep opening up the admin center, even though I've got multiple tabs open, but just for the purposes of this demo, let's start from scratch. So we're going to go down to objects and rules, business rules, and go into the automation section. So we're going to go ahead and add an automation. And we're going to title this bump 1, pending notification, 4 days. So we're going to go ahead and add the following conditions. Hours since category pending. So this is telling it that the ticket has been set on pending for 96 hours. We need to enter the hours here for 4 days. That's equivalent to 4 days, yep. We're going to add another condition for ticket privacy. The ticket has public comments. We don't want to send a bump if maybe there's only been internal communications by agents on a ticket created proactively, like I mentioned before. Status category is pending. So we're saying if the ticket is set to pending and meets these other conditions, do these other actions. All right, now we're going to add a last condition here for ticket tags. We're going to say it contains none of the following. So let's do bump 1 for now. And if you need to add additional tags in the automation section here, we just add a space. So the bump 1 tag is added when this automation fires, which we'll add at the end as an action. And then we could add another tag here for don't bump. And this can be incorporated in other workflows such as macros to prevent this automation from firing on sensitive tickets, similar to the tag that we added in the initial CSAT notification condition saying, if we don't want this specific automation to fire, this tag does not need to be present on the ticket. And then we could use a macro or something else. The agent can add a tag manually on the ticket, and this automation won't fire. Under the perform these actions, we're going to go ahead and go to notifications for the user email. So we're going to go ahead and leave this as a default requester and CC. So you can have this set as the requester, so that'd be the main person creating the ticket. But if they have maybe CC'd their bosses or other colleagues, you might want the notification to go out to everyone that's CC'd. So we're going to go ahead and add an email subject here for pending request. ticket title. And just for this demo, these placeholders that you see with the little squiggly lines, I call them, you can go ahead and type in the 2 squiggly lines and it'll give you the option for the placeholders. And we can send up follow-ups for these specific links for the placeholder references if needed. So we're going to go ahead and create this. So the ticket account placeholder is your Zendesk account name, pending request, and it's pulling in the ticket title here as the email subject. So in the email body, we're going to go ahead and put in a notification that we want sent to the end user for this first bump. So I'm copying and pasting here for time's sake, but it's letting them know this is an automated email reminding you about this ticket. It's pending, awaiting your action. We look forward for your response. If we don't hear back in 2 days, we'll assume that it's safe to mark this ticket as solved. And then letting them know that they can reopen the ticket. And we're going to go ahead and add the action for adding the tag that we added up top. For bump 1. And this prevents the automation here from firing again. So it's added to the ticket as bump 1. And now it's not going to run again from the beginning because it's saying up here that this specific tag must not be contained in the ticket. Let's go ahead and create the automation. All right, so we've got the first one here, bump 1. So we can go ahead and add another automation here and do those steps from scratch. But you can also go ahead and click the little 3 buttons on the side here, and we could actually clone this. And then we can go ahead and get a head start. And we see that it's copying all of the conditions and actions that we set up previously. So we're going to set up this one for bump 2. Pending notification for, let's see, pending 2 of 6 days. So now we're adding an additional 2 days here. We're updating the hours here from 4 days to now 6 days. So it translates to 144 hours. We're keeping the ticket privacy, the status category. Ticket tag contains at least the following. So we're going to add a condition here. So we're saying this contains at least this tag for bump 1, because we want this automation to fire after the initial bump 1 automation has fired and it's added this bump 1 tag to the ticket. And after 6 days, then it's saying this automation is picking up that, hey, there's a bump 1 on this ticket. Then I can take these actions if it meets the conditions here. And we're going to go ahead and alter the contains none of the following. We're going to do bump 2 because we're going to add this tag at the bottom as an action. And we'll go ahead and keep the don't bump as a secondary tag in case you have those specialized cases where you don't want this automation to fire at all. Okay. And we're going to go down to the actions and alter these. We're going to keep the subject because this still makes sense. It's still a pending request, but you could imagine you can alter this to say pending request follow-up to, or following up, a second follow-up, whatever you think that your business necessitates. We're going to go ahead and alter the email body here, just letting them know again that this is the second notification, and that if we don't hear from you in 1 day, 7 days, we're going to solve the ticket. And we're going to alter the bottom tag here to bump 2. So this is saying that when this automation runs, we're adding bump 2 to the ticket, and that tag that we're having up here as a condition for contains none of the following prevents this from running again. We're going to go ahead and create this automation. All right, so thanks for bearing with me there. So let's just jump into what the bump 3 would actually look like here. So this would be us doing that set of steps all over again, but right now we're finalizing this with a bump 3. So solve this ticket within 7 days. So we've got the same conditions, it's pending. This got this switched to 168 hours, which equals 7 days. It contains at least the previous tag for bump 2 that we've created. It contains none of the following, bump 3 and do not bump. Bump 3 we're adding at the bottom here. And then we're just altering the notification here to letting them know we've solved your ticket. Hey, we haven't heard from you. This ticket's been solved, but please reply to the email address if you did want to follow up here. And then we could also add an additional set of conditions here for removing tags. So if you wanted these sort of automations to fire again, so if the end user has gotten the second bump, for example, and they replied, they made a public reply, you don't want it to go now to this third automation to solve the ticket because they've replied. We're going to go ahead and make sure that these automations are including the removal of these bump tags. So in this case, we're going to remove the bump 2 if they reply back. That way, this workflow starts from the beginning, and then it would start from the first automation for the first bump, and then go through this process again if, again, they don't respond in X number of days. All right, and let's talk through email templates. Give me a second, that was a lot of talking. So we want to maintain, oh, sorry, let me go back to the slide. So let's talk through email templates. So customizing the look and feel of your email. So your account sends regular email notifications to end users for events like ticket updates. Customizing these notifications enables you to personalize the communication your customers receive and ensures that they align with your brand and support needs. So the standard HTML notification email sent from your Zendesk account looks like this on the left-hand side. Sorry, give me 1 second. My computer's freezing up. All right. Editing this HTML requires a certain level of familiarity with HTML and CSS. So you might want to consult your experts on altering this. The content and format of these emails are managed by 2 templates in the admin center, one for HTML and one for plain text. So both formats are included in each email, and the version the user sees depends on the email application settings that they use. The email template includes a content placeholder that displays the email content, which can include ticket comments and user profile pictures. The content is defined in the trigger, automation, or anything else that sends an email from your account. We'll send an article that contains more information about these placeholders at the end of this event. And good news is that this feature is available for all Zendesk support plans. All right. So why are email templates important? Showcasing your brand. These customized emails help ensure that your communication reflects your brand's voice and identity, creating a consistent user experience. We're highlighting important information. So these custom templates allow you to emphasize calls to actions, updates, or next steps, guiding your customers effectively. And lastly, boosting user experience. A well-designed email can capture the recipient's attention and create a more engaging experience, making it easier for users to read and understand your message. And then finally, as a visual example, this is what the HTML template looks like within the admin center. So you can access this page by going to the admin center under the email setting that we went to previously. So let's just jump over to that really quickly. Let's just type in email. So where we originally entered and created the VIP support email address here, if we scroll to the bottom, we see the HTML template here that's able to be edited and the text template. So you can modify the email template to customize it closer to your business's branding. So this can, for instance, change the color of the footer text. You can add social media links to the footer. You can add your own logos. If someone has experience with HTML and CSS, you can make this email to your end users appear exactly how you want it to appear based on your branding. And you can also remove the email delimiter link that says please reply above this line if you don't want to include that element in your specific email response. And with that, thanks for staying with me through all those demos. I appreciate you sticking with me, and I'll hand it over to Patty for this next set of slides.
Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. Really appreciate the insights there and the detail provided. I just want to kind of recap here before we hand over to the question and answer section. So if you do have questions, I think Brett's sent a message in the chat there. You can feel free to post them in the chat, or if you are comfortable, you can feel free to come on camera and ask your question live. But now we know kind of how to set up your kind of email addresses in Zendesk. How to configure those notifications, right, including some of the automations that Jonathan showed through kind of bump solve and some of our kind of business rules there. And we looked at kind of customizing those email templates and kind of the knowledge required in order to do so. And yeah, let's move on to the next slide here. Cool. So today we've focused on kind of building out that customer experience kind of, on our side of the house. Next session is next week, I believe, which will be step 5 of this series, which will be kind of the final steps to go live. In this session, we'll discuss testing email setups, reviewing commonly encountered issues, and monitoring your support with kind of the pre-built dashboards that we have here in Zendesk. So that will be the next session. But with that, I know we're coming up to time here, so I want to leave a couple of minutes for some Q&A.
So thank you everyone for your attention. So yeah, we've come now to the part of our session where we would love to hear your questions. So please feel free to type them into the chat and we'll address them as good as we can. And if meanwhile we're expecting for some questions to drop off, perhaps we can answer some of the questions we have seen before. So what would be some common errors that you've seen, Jonathan or Patty, with your customers when setting up a support address?
I think for me personally, when I've seen customers set up additional addresses like that VIP example, they forget to go ahead and update their existing triggers for notifications. So tickets are still being created if someone emails that new support address, but there's no rules in the background that are telling it what to actually do. So you run into some scenarios where tickets are created, they're not appearing in views because, again, they haven't been set up in the views and the triggers to route them. So they're kind of just floating out there. You want to make sure that you're planning out where you want those specific email addresses to go based on those conditions, like a new support email address.
Makes a lot of sense. So perhaps we can go with another one. Are there any downsides to removing the delimiter in the email template?
I haven't run into any specific issues with that. Maybe just like a visual cue for the customers to know that they have to enter their response, above that delimiter line. But I don't know, Patty, if you've seen anything in your experience specific to that.
No, nothing on my side specific to that one. No.
Okay. And perhaps any other best practices or gotcha moments that you've seen with your customers?
I think as we were going through the demo, when I first went through the triggers slide where it's got the notification category, a lot of customers just, they start setting up their triggers with those default categories. And as they grow, they get more tickets, more support email addresses. They forget to go back and actually make sure that those categories are set up effectively. So if your team grows from 5 agents to 100, now you've got all your notifications housed in that category. Perhaps it's best practice to say, this category is for our regular support notifications, and create a second category that says, these are the VIP notifications, like in our example, creating that new VIP support email addresses. That way an admin coming in kind of clearly sees like, okay, I see what's going on here. This category is for normal support. This category is for notifications for VIP in this example. So it should be easy to read for any admin to come in and just make alterations without needing to figure out what everything is in one category, for example.
Yeah, and just additionally to that, like email is the first thing that pretty much everyone sets up in Zendesk, right? So sometimes we see once the instance matures, right, and you add new channels, when we go back to email, right, sometimes it's just, too many support addresses, right? So again, a best practice there would be to kind of do an audit of, your channels, especially email. If there isn't, support addresses serving a purpose, right, remove them. Look to see where you can kind of add ones, right? Where you can refine workflows. But yeah, I think kind of Jonathan hit the nail on the head with his explanation there.
Yeah. And I think there's a question here regarding Phil. Let's see. And I'm actually switching over, and maybe this is already provided here in the chat. Let's see. So let's start with the actual definition, Phil. So Phil's asking an example of where the little placeholders, the content contain the little squiggly lines that I referenced earlier. So I'll post this in the chat for the placeholder reference. So just like the definition first, and then let's switch over to actually how that's actually used. So this article that I sent details what those actual placeholders actually pull data-wise. So if we go back to, let's say, a trigger, and go to the notification, and then this would be either placed in the email subject or within the actual ticket body. So in this case, we're looking at the latest ticket comments, ticket account. For some of the other notifications that we see, for example, notifying the end users of a public comment. Now let's go to a better example. I guess this is fine. So in here, this placeholder is just looking at sending the latest comment, but we can say we want the ticket requester's first name. So this is pulled from within Zendesk, the user's actual first name. So if we're pulling in this information, we're seeing ticket first name. We could say hi, first name, and then whatever other content we want in here. But this is actually pulled from the user side. So in this case, if a user here in this example is the person creating the ticket is Maria Lopez, it's pulling in Maria Lopez in that placeholder there using the one that I just put in the trigger in this example, but it's pulling it from multiple places depending on the placeholder's definition. I hope that helps, Phil. So yeah,
Awesome.
I think
Well-
Phil has a quick follow-up here. Oh, I'm sorry, Phil. We're talking about the content, the placeholders within the HTML template. Maybe Brett or Alejandro, we can send more detailed articles on where that's actually defined and the plain text version as well to give a better definition. I don't have that off the top of my head, so maybe we could add that as a follow-up, Alejandro, to Phil.
Cool. So with that, I think we're at about time. Thanks everyone so much for joining today's session. Thanks, Jonathan, for co-hosting with me. I appreciate everyone joining. Hope it's been insightful and engaging. I think the team here will send over the follow-up by kind of the end of the week, so you'll get the resources that we spoke about today, including the recording. And we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.